The Alliance Covert Intelligence.
Yeah.
Did he ever learn of Susan Ivanova's involvement in the chemical that made him lose his hair?
I have no idea what you're talking about. Jerry, consider the guy that just asked the question. Yeah. I shaved my head the 5th season of Babylon 5, I think it was. Because every year they told me, don't mess with your hair. And if you notice, every year it's different. Because they told me not to mess with my hair. But nature was messing with it, so in the 5th season I decided, let it be gone. Yeah. Now it's coming out of my nose, my ears. I go at night, I'm in bed under the covers with a flashlight. And go to the light. It's not that I don't have hair, it's just lost.
This gentleman right under the camera there. Yeah.
Hi, I had a question for Claudia. I was watching old episodes of Columbo recently, and I came across this terrific one that you were in, and I just wondered if you had any memories you wanted to share about it.
Faye Dunaway is crazy. She speaks very highly of me behind my back as well. So. Columbo was amazing. Peter Falk was incredible. I love him. That whole thing was weird because you thought we were lesbians, but then you found out we were mother and daughter, which was kind of weird for Columbo to get that risque. And I had this wonky Italian Frenchie. He said, "Does this sound like Isabella Rossellini?" I'm like, "What? That's like Italian, French, and German," or so, because she was raised in 3 different countries. So it was good for me because I didn't have to be specific or good at any of that. So I had the excuse of saying Peter Falk told me to sound French, German, Italian. So that's why I sound like an Aboriginal melting pot. So, so anyway, so that was fun. But yeah, Faye had this tendency of, first of all, when I met her, she said, I was at the time about 26, 7 or something like that, and she was supposed to play my mom. And she said, and Peter said, just do me a favor, put your hair in pigtails and no makeup, and can you make your voice higher when you meet her? I said, you gotta be kidding me. He said, no, I told her you were 19. I said, well, she clearly could be my mom. I mean, what's the problem? He said, just do it. So I had pigtails, and I said, hello, Miss Dunaway. And she looked at me and she said, how old are you? I said, well, I'm 19 years old. I don't know why I sound like Judy Garland. I tried. That's my young voice. Yeah, she heard my old voice. So anyway, so she wasn't very, she was kind of okay with that. 19, she goes, 19, I suppose, where are your people from? That was her next question to me, and I said, where are your people from? I said, my mother's German, my dad's Irish. I suppose you'll do. That was my introduction to Faye Dunaway, and it went downhill from there. When it came down to wardrobe, she got all the beautiful, bright colors, and they dressed me in khaki. Because, yeah, that was her rule. She said, put the young one in khaki and gray. And then she had hot pink and red. Listen, for me it was a ball. I was working with a legend, and you know, and I've always been a huge Peter Falk fan. I
say that 3 times fast.
Peter Falk fan, huge Peter Falk fan. He told me all his John Cassavetes stories and everything. So I had a wonderful 2 months with him, going out to delis after work and dissing, you know who. I'll tell you one last thing. Where we put at the end of the shoot, you know, we all have director's chairs, and hers. Faye Dunaway turns into fade away very quickly. Just ixnay. And Bruce worked with her too. Hey, I'm not speaking out of school. He's got a reputation. Sorry, Miss Dunaway. I'm sorry, Miss Dunaway.
Yeah, Jan, go ahead.
I've got a question for anybody who wants to answer it. Think back to the first time you had a magazine cover or an action figure, and how did that feel?
Real good.
I've got 3 of them.
Bill wins. He's got.
Bill is the big.
Bill's got that.
He was the first kid on the block that had his own
Yeah, he's got more action figures than any of us.
I gotta tell you, it's a depressing day when your action figure gets marked down at Toys R Us.
That's true.
I didn't even bring that up.
We were in the market.
$29.99 to $9.99. And then they ceremoniously have that cart full of your discarded action figures. And you go around the turn, and there's all the other action figures on the shelf going, oh, you were pretty cocky a little month or so ago. Now you're over here with the rest of us losers.
I actually got discontinued, so I finally booked this role. It was Thundercats' new series, and I was Mumra, the ever-living. So I was like, finally a role that they can't kill me.
Ancient spirits of evil, transform this decayed form into Mumra, the ever-living!
They canceled the show. And I went to Toys R Us to pick all of them, and I figured, well, I'm just going to grab. And the only ones that were left were Mumra. So I bought them all.
It's funny. I had done a lot of roles, and none of them were toys and everything. And then I think the biggest moment of my career was when I went to McDonald's and I was a Happy Meal. I did Buzz Lightyear in the Star Command, and Booster was the featured Happy Meal.
But some of your early directing work did involve toys.
I gotta tell you, I was new to science fiction with that. I gotta tell the story. The cast has heard this a million times, but it's kind of a fun story. I didn't know anything about science fiction or Babylon 5. They had done the pilot. So I got called in for the audition for Babylon 5. So I go into the room and there's kind of like 50 guys that kind of look like me, except the only thing is they had their hair up. All the actors had their hair up, and I'm going, what the hell is going on? I said, they know something I don't. So I want to have that competitive edge. So I rushed to the men's room and I took the soap from the soap dispenser and I was putting my hair up, to look like the other actors. And the soap got in my eye. My eye started to tear and it was like horrible, and it was burning, and I was throwing water on my face, and I heard them call my name to come in and leave. So I rush in, I'm disheveled, Joe Straczynski there, and the other producers are there, and I said, I felt like I owed them an explanation that I wasn't a drug addict. So I said to them, I didn't know anything about the hair thing, and I'm so sorry because I went into the men's room and I used the soap, and the soap got in my eye, and they stopped and they said, oh my God, it's V. In the waiting room thinking that I had just screwed up the whole audition, and I walked out and I said, you guys can leave now.
Yes, sir.
I was wondering if you could tell us about your first day on set for everybody.
I'll tell you about my first day on set really quickly.
You're talking 20-some years ago.
It's fresh in my mind. It's got a special room in the cornfield. So, I had auditioned for the role, but I had no idea what the physicality of the part involved. And we got this call that said, you booked the gig and they want a 5-year contract, and you're not playing a human. And I had done, some sci-fi in the past, so I said, well, what does the character look like? And they wouldn't send me a photograph from the movie of the week, the pilot, because they were changing the design of the Minbari character. So they sent me a sketch, and I said, well, I actually called John Copeland, the producer, myself, not through my agent, and I said, how long am I going to be in makeup if I say yes to this? He said about an hour. He said about an hour. So I get to work the first day. 4.5 hours later, I'm staring in the mirror, going, what have I done? During those 4 hours of sitting there becoming linear for the first time, there was a woman who was hired to play Na'Toth, and she freaked out in front of me while they were putting the makeup on her. About halfway through the process, she did one of these, I can't do it, I can't do it, I can't do it! And Joe Straczynski and Copeland and Doug Netter and everybody came in and tried to calm her down, and she split, she couldn't do it, she couldn't handle the makeup, and she just bolted, and everything, and I was sitting there just thinking, oh my God. Plus I was sitting next to Claudia for a long time, who was telling the boldest sexual stories ever heard in your life. And I'm just sitting here going, I'm in the Twilight Zone.
You know, it's such a pisser because Bill has an eidetic memory and I have none. You remember everything.
Unforgettable.
You did something with your right hand when you gestured, which you did with your character. I did. When you make a point, you throw the index finger.
That's a shotgun.
See, I'm just so into Lanier right now.
Yeah.
Bruce, what was your first day like on the set as captain?
Oh my God.
We welcomed you with open arms.
Really, we were so happy to have him.
We were so happy.
I offered to blow him. Oh my God. That pretty much it. First day. Made me wait 3 days. But on the 4th day, there was Claudia.
Dream on, baby.
I'd only seen the first season, a couple of the things. They sent it to me because I hadn't seen the show. I think maybe I saw it once. And I did notice that it was very different from Star Trek. It was much darker, you know, in tone and everything. And just very different. I was more attracted to it, but then I read these scripts, which I know had probably a dozen actors' fingerprints all over them, and they must have turned it down. But,
no, come on, you
they
no, you were way high on the list, and we all welcomed you with wonderful, welcoming arms until we found out how much you were getting paid.
Yes. Once we found
Maybe I don't need to answer this question. I know.
Bitter party.
It was, you know. No.
Yes.
Please jump in.
I just remember when Bruce came, I was in the trailer, you know, getting my makeup, was I said 3 hours?
4 hours.
Okay. And Billy came into the trailer and I said, so how is he? And you said, he looks like God.
You weren't supposed to.
I don't live here.
All right, I'm going to move on and take another question. Yes, right here, the lady with the hat.
First of all, I just want to say that I love you all. I've watched your show with my dad when I was a very little girl. That was my first introduction into the science fiction genre with you guys. So my memory of it is coming from an 8-year-old's perspective. But I do have a question for Mira. As far as your transformation from Old Delenn to New Delenn, not necessarily from not having to do as much makeup, but for more deeper personal emotional feelings, how did you feel as an actor about the transformation when you found that out in the script?
Could you all hear that?
We hear someone talking.
Could someone please shut the fuck up?
Well, I mean, you know, I could also tell you about my first, which is kind of connected to your question, my first day on the set. Of the pilot of Babylon 5, when I don't know if you remember the look of that person, of that weird non-gender, between genders, alien being. Anyway, I remember that I was in the bathroom washing my hands, and somebody came into the bathroom and did. Okay, nice. So this is the reaction I get when people see me. It was kind kind of depressing for me, you know. I needed a job. My story was very dramatic of coming here to America and so on and so forth. And so the job that actually brought me back into my family or my tribe of you know, of actors, you know, of everything that I knew, from which I was exiled, you know, because of the war and so on. It meant so much to me. At the same time, I felt like this is the end of me, you know, as an actress. Because, I mean, it's very hard. I mean, and you know, you have a new face. I mean, the thing with acting is you kind of know how to handle yourself, you know. But what about this other creature that is now you, you know? How do you deal with that? A person, and I had a hard time dealing with that. Where am I in it? Where's the truth? Where's the, you know, how do I deal with that? And the person who helped me a lot with his infinite wisdom was actually Andreas Katsulas, who told me two things, which I'll never forget. First of all, he said, don't whine. No, more than two things. He said, remember the old country, because he's Greek, you know, Greek origin. Remember our, you know, the ladies, the women in our countries, who put their, you know, who are covered completely with black scarves and black attire in the middle of the summer, and it kind of, you know, you sweat so much that it cools you off. that was his take. How to survive, you know, in the horrible heat under prosthetic makeup, which covers your whole body, as in it's a torture, you know, physical torture, and psychologically it messes up with your brain and so on and so forth. So you have to have some kind, you know, some way of dealing with it. So that was his. And then the other thing that he told me is, find freedom in that frame, you know. You're kind of in a prison, you know, but that's your, and you know, find your freedom in that. And then he told me all acting began with masks. Which is true. So
you were actually going back to the very basics.
Right,
of what we
basic of the
and you did a damn good job.
Damn good
In what had originally been a hot tub factory that they converted into a studio, but it wasn't built with the solidity of a major motion picture studio like Fox or Paramount or Universal, etc. In early 1994, we had a really big earthquake in Southern California, and we continued shooting Babylon 5 the next day, and there were aftershocks for weeks, if not months, where the stability of where we worked was highly questionable, and everything was shaking, and the lights were falling, so we would evacuate the old hot tub factory several times every day for a while, and the community around the hot tub factory would see these aliens running out of the building. And it was very interesting to see the people react.
They left me in a Star Fury.
Well,
One of the biggest aftershocks, I thought it was another earthquake. One guy had wolves that started howling. Everyone's going crazy. Everybody scoots. I'm locked in a Michelin Man suit, which is, I think, Jerry's suit, too big for me, strapped in to a Star Fury.
That's Star Fury.
And everybody leaves me. Strapped in. Rafters are falling. Craft falling. And I'm going, this is going to be my epitaph. Seriously? Not, you know, she wrote a great book or she saved, no, she died in a Star Fury. Babylon 5 actress is crushed to death in a Star Fury. Oh, the irony.
And Jerry broke his leg.
On my own?
You're right, yeah, that's true.
That was bad.